The combined floor space of the Cavendish lab was about 1/3 the size of this room. Ernest Cavendish ran it for 20 years. In that time, he produced 12 Nobel Prize winning people under him, with work done under him. That's more Nobel Prizes in physics than all of France, all of Japan, all of Italy combined in the 20th and 21st centuries. It's an awesome result. After he was no longer in charge, in the next period of time, the Cavendish produced 7 or 8 of the top Nobel Prizes in a totally different field, molecular biology, including the structure of DNA. So something was going on in there, in this tiny little space, that made it better than probably every country in the world, total, than aside from, say, America and Germany. And I've studied the Cavendish lab and Cavendish and Ernest Rutherford and people like that, and there seem to be about 4 or 5 things going on. These skills for not just good organizations, good creative organizations, not the ones where you I don't know, put on like your funny little Edward de Bono hats and come up with new advertising slogans, but ones that come up with fabulous transforming ideas like a laptop or like these 12 Nobel laureates. And the first thing, curiously, that the Cavendish lab was really good at was getting visas for its workers. For the staff there. And if you, I don't know, were born in London and brought up in London, the issue seems sort of invisible. But if somebody offers you the chance of, say, I don't know, working in the New York office, not the Chicago office, and it's hard to get visas, and then they give you the visa, and you manage to get it, you are very thankful, and you have a burst of energy. What we saw on the video displays of people who are like posted for a while in India or posted for a while in China, they have this burst of energy. You really want to perform well there. So you get a burst of energy when somebody is brought in who's not from their usual place. And also, you can transform where you are, not geographically, but also socially, which means you can, if a firm is really open to talent, independent of its background, then you get great, fresh energy. Some of you might remember the TV show Boys from the Black Stuff. Alan Bleasdale was the writer of that. And somebody was interviewing him and said, Mr. Bleasdale, you say you're a working class, and he says, I am, and I'm proud of it. And the interviewer said, but how could that be? You have a 6-bedroom house, and you have several large sports cars. He said, I'm working class, and I can prove it to you. And the interviewer said, how? And he said, I've never had anyone over to dinner I don't like, right? So that's a great attitude. If you have people in a room where some of them have always had people they don't like over to dinner because mama wanted it, and others where you have a very different attitude, it's not that one is necessarily right, but you really get great sparks going. That's really, really, really good. So the first thing, that thing with visas was a good point. Genuine diversity, not pretend diversity, but people who were energetic from different backgrounds. The other thing the Cavendish did was that they stopped at 6 p.m. The head of the lab was very good. He'd say, you can work as long as you want. I'm turning off the electricity at 6 p.m. And it meant you really had to focus. I once had Milton Friedman as a teacher in Chicago, and he had a similar attitude. He said, on this final essay, you can write as long as you want. I, however, will stop reading after the 500th word. And that means it's up to you, but we're only going to look at this final result. Try to do it quickly. Another thing that Cavendish was good at, I suppose this isn't very PC, was hierarchies. The Cavendish lab had terrifically clear hierarchies. There were minions at the bottom who did all sorts of grunt analytic work, and then there were people who, it's not like any firms we know. Anyways, the salaries went up terrifically as you went up. And what happens is that if there's a hierarchy which is closed, it's kind of obnoxious. Energetic people won't stay there. But if the hierarchy has clear rules of advancement and it's open, then it's a great motivation. Then people come in at the bottom and they see what's available and they know how to do it. They're not given it automatically. Then where's their motivation? They have to hustle for it. And within reason, not if it's like sick and you're sending emails from 4 in the morning. But it was a great motivation at the Cavendish lab. Honest, clear hierarchies. The other thing was to have a mission statement that was at the right level of generality. Xerox PARC in the 1970s had a great mission statement. Make small devices that will use computer technology for the individual. It's not too general. It's not saying, let's transform the world through electronics. It doesn't say anything. Nor is it very, very specific, saying, let's get this one particular chip produced at this amount of time. So the Cavendish lab had a simple thing. For 20 years, Ernst Rutherford said, let's find out what's inside the atom. It was an astute judgment. It wasn't too detailed. It wasn't too general. And it really matched what was going on. Curiously, these things change every 10 or 15 years. That period of time passed with finding out what was inside the atom. That was no longer interesting. And the next guy said, let's see what we can find out about protein structure using X-rays. And indeed, that led to DNA and understanding insulin and all sorts of other stuff. So finding the right clear target is great. It's an astute leader points you in the direction, and everybody knows where they are. Everybody has buy-in for that simple, clear target. The final thing, and this is probably the hardest but the most important about the Cavendish Lab, and for any creative organization, is you have to make your own tools. At the Cavendish Lab, for example, in 1911, the way to see what was going on inside an atom was literally to look at a big screen where little fluorescent dots would appear as these interactions happened in the center of an atom. It was really hard to do. You had to put up with this miserable Cambridge tea, waiting for your eyes to adjust in this darkened room, these horrible cold tea and the chipped cups and stuff, and it was very hard to see. Anyways, at the Cavendish Lab, they thought, wouldn't it be great if we could use a different sensory input? And lo and behold, a young grad student from Berlin, Hans Geiger, said, well, let's just hook it up to something that makes an audible sound. It was the Geiger counter. Because they were first, several things happened. They made their own tools. It didn't cost much, and they had a confidence that they could find out what was going on. Plus, they had access to this when nobody else did. By the time other labs started using Geiger counters, the Cavendish had sort of scooped up all the good, easy results. Again, the analogies here are great. If you read in the Harvard, there's some sort of business journal or something from them, or other things about the latest analytic tool used by one of your vicious competitors, you're going to be late on it. You'll be copying them and do a so-so imitation of them. George Gershwin, when he was in Paris in the 1920s, studied with Ravel. And after a while, somebody said to him, look, do you want to be first-rate Gershwin or second-rate Ravel? So he decided to be first-rate Gershwin and led to Porgy and Bess and other things. So if you make your own tools, you have an edge over everybody. And the way to make your own tools is to genuinely understand what you're trying to do, which is what I was mentioning in the talk. Really seeing what trends are going to be picked up on for the little bits of technology that'll come out, making a safe, easy, guaranteed life for people, being something that individuals can personally jump for, all those criteria. If you get that right, then when new things do arise, we can't predict exactly, but when they do arise, you'll have a flying start in working with them and with improving them. And this time, you'll be able to do it really, really fast. Thank you. Thank you very much.